Okay, awesome. Hey, everybody. Natalie Cutler-Welsh here from If Only They Told Me and Go To Girl. So I'm talking today with my lovely friend Celia Hogan. She's from Little Kiwis, Nature Play. And it's an awesome topic because we're talking about how to get your kids to play outside more. So Celia, I'm so excited that you're here. Yay, it's very exciting. So she's down in Christchurch. I'm in Wellington at the moment. And I just would love for you to dive in for us. Basically, like, what is nature play and what is your journey to get you here?
Cool. Hey, thank you very much for having me, Nat. So nature play is essentially play outside. And when we talk about nature play, it's often free play where the children, it's not structured. They are free to use their creativity and their imagination, come up with whatever they want to do. So it's quite different from formal structured activities or sport outside. It's just letting them loose, if you like, letting them go wild. So that's pretty much what nature play is in a real nutshell. And yes, you know, we used to do outdoor ed together, which is pretty exciting. And so I've always had a real interest in outdoor activities and that kind of stuff. But when I had my own children, I always imagined that there'd be lots of outdoor time. And then, you know, there was a time where we had to put them into a little bit of daycare or whatever. And I was just shocked at the size of the outdoor spaces. And I was just like, I'm not sending my children to go to these places with this tiny little outside space. I just imagined these big outdoor areas and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of what led me.
I was going to say, so for you, was that like the trigger? Was that the turning point when you saw, like, really that many kids and this space is, you know, not very big?
Absolutely, the big turning point. I was just like, how can this be something that people want to send their children to? And so that's what set me on this journey. And I started talking to some other mums. I was attending a nature play group every Friday. I was saying, hey, you know, have you seen all the nature kindergartens that they have over in Europe? Oh my gosh, it looks amazing. And other people were like, yeah, that looks cool. And a couple of us decided to start running holiday sessions for preschoolers. And that's kind of where the ball started to roll. That worked pretty well. But then you always have to have the parents along. So, you know, you don't charge much or anything. It's more of, I know, community service, if you like. What I did start to notice was when I started talking to early childhood educators, I was like, well, you know, do you guys go out to your local park? Do you go to your reserves? You know, no. And I was like, well, you should be. So it ended up that I've started training early childhood educators and how to do that. You know, a lot of people have lost confidence. It's not a normal thing these days to go outdoors with children.
It is, I know. So it's interesting. So one of the things you mentioned, and I'll just elaborate on it, like you and I met, right? We met in Timaru. Yeah. We were doing Polytech outdoor recreation, learning about how to use the outdoors as a medium for personal growth and development. That's what we did. That's what we studied. And now many years later, we're older and wiser, whatever. We are moms. And it sounds like you had that aha moment where you're like, are you kidding me? Like, is this what's going on? And then what I love is you didn't just whinge about it. You actually took action. Like, you made something happen. And you went to the educators, right? Because it's kind of like if they're not getting outside and enjoying nature, it's harder for them to get kids excited about going outside.
Totally. And children these days are spending so much more time in childcare before they go to school than ever before. You know, you're looking at in the 90% range, that's a huge amount.
You mean 90% of children or 90% of their time?
90% of children are spending time in some kind of childcare, whether that's in a centre, kindergarten, at-home care, that kind of thing. There's all different levels, and I guess I think back to my childhood where I had, you know, mum who was mainly at home for a lot of the time, but we used to go out on excursions. And it wasn't just nature play, like it was going out into the community, going to the park every day. One of our things. We'd also go do the grocery shopping, we'd go to the garden centre, all that kind of stuff. If you've got children who are spending, you know, up to 5 days a week in preschool, they're missing out on a lot of those experiences. And people go, oh, well, they don't need to do that. But that's also learning about intergenerational communication, social skills, learning about their local environment. It's all these important things that children seem to be missing out on. And nature play is one of the big ones, you know. Children aren't actually going to their parks as much anymore. And I find that really sad. There's a recent study, 2015, by Scott Duncan at AUT University in Auckland, and they interviewed maybe 1,000 different families, and it was looking at how what children are doing in outdoors, and the parents recognised that getting their kids outdoors and engaging in risky play and nature play is really important. It wasn't transposing. They weren't actually putting that into practice and letting it happen.
Right.
And the children were getting more outdoor time in their school hours than they were over the whole of their week. So, you've got 2 full days on the weekend. The children are getting more outdoor time in their lunch hours at school.
Yeah, so, I love what you just mentioned. You mentioned nature play, and you also threw out another phrase, which was risky play. Can you, because when I think of nature play, it actually makes me think of kids with bare feet. And is that part of it, like getting your actual bare feet on the grass, on the sand, like the tactile, I don't know, you can maybe tell us more about how it connects with like the nerve endings and their development and that kind of thing. I know for me, we did a lot of nature play when my kids were little. I was definitely an at-home / work for yourself mother, so I had the flexibility and freedom to not have to put them into childcare as such. So there was tons of time at the park, tons of time. We had a sand pit, a veggie garden in the yard, all that kind of stuff. I find now that my kids are older, meaning 7 to 11, like now it's more structured activities and it's definitely more screen time. And I feel like it's harder, and I'm not leading by a very good example, to get them outside and doing nature play. So can you talk about, well, first of all, nature play versus risky play, and then moving into like the ages and stages of nature play? Yeah.
So nature play inevitably has some form of risky play. Kids are out in nature, they tend to push themselves to their own abilities. I call it kind of age-appropriate risk management. And it looks different for every child. Like, I don't think we can actually determine, this is what you do at this age. It's about the child, because every child is different and they will be at a different stage. So some children at 3 years old will be climbing to the top of a tree.
Yes.
And that will be them, assessing their own risk and their own abilities and capabilities and saying, yeah, I'm capable of doing that. I know how to hold on. I know how to keep myself safe. And what we do find when children are engaged in risky play is they do tend to stop the majority of occasions when it's getting to a level which is too far beyond their capabilities. They are quite good at assessing their own risk if they are given the opportunity. It's quite easy for adults to come in and go, oh my gosh, you've got to get down, you're going to fall, like that real overreactive. But if you can kind of say, just imagine putting a piece of duct tape on your mouth and just watch them and allow them and just be there if they need you. Keep quiet. You will notice that they will stop when they feel it's too far outside their comfort zone. So, oh my God,
I'm laughing, and I'm laughing at myself, and I'm sure a lot of other parents that are watching are like, yeah, that's me, like the kind of safety conscious, a little bit slightly paranoid parents, definitely when they were younger, for sure.
Yeah.
I was even the other day, last weekend, I was teaching an essential oils class in someone's living room, and outside there was a park, and I could see in the window this kid, I don't know, 12 or something, really high in this tree, like really high, and then swinging on this branch that looked a little bit bendy. And I'm like going, is that kid okay? Like, is that fine? And I'm just feeling like, because people have different standards of what's okay. And I don't know that kid. Like, I have no idea who that kid is. So I don't know his ability. I don't know that tree. I don't know the situation. But as a mother, I'm like, are we safe? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's, and we do naturally do that, especially when we don't know a child. So in those kind of situations, we can ask, if we were right out there, we can ask questions going, are you feeling comfortable with what you're doing right now? Like, just engage in conversation rather than the kind of reactive language that we can use. And I think it's really good what you identified there. Everyone is different. There's a kind of like a spectrum. You've got really risk adverse and real risk takers. And there are positives and negatives at each end. If we're aware of where we fit on that spectrum, it's kind of good. And we have to ask ourselves, is how I'm responding helping or hindering the child in whatever they're engaging in right now? So sometimes we have to put our hand over our mouth, and sometimes, if we're at the risk taker end and going, am I being too blasé about what's going on?
I would love to just invite anyone that's watching either our lovely Facebook Live or this replay, comment below, let us know if you feel that you, if you had done the duct tape technique and put duct tape, in a scenario, do you feel like, that your child, could probably have benefited if you'd kind of zipped it, because I feel like I definitely am that mom, or I used to be when they were younger for sure, that kind of probably jumped in a bit too soon, right? Even though my background is outdoor recreation, outward bound instructor, all that, I still am very safety conscious.
Yeah. Hey, and I think the part about it is letting children start young. What it does is it gives them lots of experience so that they have this really solid foundation for when they are older and they are faced with other kind of decision making, where there are high risks involved. And that, we're kind of moving out of the nature play kind of stuff here, but just, it might be being in the car with a drunk driver, or if you're offered drugs or alcohol, whatever. And you've got this huge foundation from when they're a child of faith, dealing with risks and managing them, have a wealth of experience to be able to hopefully make better informed decisions. So, it kind of leads on. And it's also resilience kind of stuff as well, they're trying things, these risky activities, or I say risky, sometimes that sounds really scary, but, it could be just stepping up a ladder or whatever. But if they're trying these things, they're maybe not succeeding, they keep coming back. And allowing them to just come back and acknowledging what they have achieved. Oh, you got up to the first step of that ladder. That's great. This time you got to the second step. So acknowledging the progress that they are making. And it just helps with their overall resilience and the problem solving and that willingness to want to try and improve and learn.
Which is so important. I think you touched on so many vital aspects of growing up. And it's like we said before, using the outdoors as a medium for personal growth. Not only are they learning whatever their connection of their left brain, right brain, that kind of stuff. There's also decision making, resilience. And like you said, I love the topic. I've been speaking about it a lot lately, empowered choices, and encouraging my kids to make empowered choices, meaning they understand the situation. Like they understand that if they're going to miss swimming to go to a birthday party, whatever, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
In the outdoors, they're like, I understand that if I take 2 more steps on this branch, it could possibly break or not, or it could be really fun. And like empowered choices that you said, they can use that learning, that confidence, the life lessons later in life, which I think is amazing. Because if we make all their decisions for them and swoop in and rescue them, which is what I've tended to do, it's not very empowering. It's disempowering. Interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing on there, especially in the real younger years, it is important to note that as adults, we are still responsible for the kind of major hazard identification. So the children are really good at assessing their own risks, but sometimes there might be a hazard, which is something that could cause significant harm the children might not see. So let's say they're climbing a tree and then and there is a big pile of broken glass at the bottom. That's a hazard that they might not have registered. They have assessed the risk of them climbing. They haven't considered if they do fall, what they're falling onto. So as adults, we still do have a role play with that and identifying those significant
Good to acknowledge. Good to acknowledge. Now, I'd love to highlight, you recently went on the project on TV, which is awesome. And you basically are shining the light on this issue. Can you tell us a little bit, well, first of all, about your experience going on the project, but also about your petition? And I'll try to screen share as well to show people what it looks like and how they can sign it if they want to.
Yeah, cool. So I'll start with what the petition is. That'll kind of lead into the project. So currently in New Zealand, we have early childhood centres that can go on excursions. We don't have any nature-based early childhood centres. And over in Europe, Denmark, Scandinavia, they have these forest kindergartens, which are amazing. And pretty much they're essentially based outdoors all day. They might have some kind of shelter, a yurt or a tent or something, but they are outside all day. And they're just dressed appropriately. So they're dressed for the weather. Yeah. And I really want to see that available in New Zealand. I do acknowledge that, it's probably not for every single family, but there are a lot of families who do want that for their children. So what I am doing, I'm writing a submission to present to Parliament and to help enable these nature-based early childhood education, is our petition, centres to start up in New Zealand. And to support that, I have started a petition because it's really important to show that there are people in the country that want to see this happening. I've also got lots of leaders from different organisations around New Zealand and internationally as well who support the whole submission, which is really exciting. So I invited on the project to talk about the petition, which was really exciting. So
yeah, that's amazing. So I mean, first of all, kudos to the project for shining the light on this issue. What has the response been from parents, teachers? Like, what have you found? Are people messaging you with messages? How many people have signed it? All that stuff.
Yeah, so it's been pretty cool. Had lots of people just come out messaging me saying, hey, wow, I would have loved to have had this when my children were in preschool. I'm totally signing it. People sharing it all over the internet. People who have especially lived in Europe and then now they're in New Zealand and they're like, oh my gosh, I want this.
Yeah, because I think if people have only lived in New Zealand, you only know what you know, right? You don't. What do we say in business? We don't know what we don't know. Then they just and so suddenly, and especially me coming from Canada, right, where we have summer camp, and like summer camp is massive. And I'm not talking about like holiday program. I'm talking about 3 weeks, an 8-year-old for 3 weeks away, canoeing, kayaking, cooking over an open fire, whatever, like just that kind of stuff, which in New Zealand, even though we're such an outdoorsy country, people don't do that. They tend to go camping, which is different, with like 1,000 tents right beside each other, which for me as a Canadian is so crazy. So I feel like there is something missing, and good on you for actually seeing something that you feel like is missing, and then, like I said, not just whinging about it, but making things happen. I love seeing people who are making things happen, and obviously to help them do that. So how can I, or anyone who's watching, how can we help get the message out? Obviously signing the petition, but what else can we do to help you, help this happen and help it be an option for people in New Zealand, even if they don't want it for their own kids? They might think this is actually my kids are a little bit older now. I really love this idea. I want it to be available. How can I help?
I think just sharing the petition would be really helpful. Social media is so powerful. So that, excuse me, I've just got a real big frog in my throat.
No worries. You sort that frog. I'm going to click on the button that says sign petition now. So, and here's what it looks like. So it's, oh, yay. Look at that.
We've got only 2,300 signatures. So that's really exciting.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I think the best thing about it has been people sharing it. That's how we've got the signatures, which is really cool.
That is so awesome. Okay, and it's pretty easy. So what you guys can do if you guys want to check this out, come and have a read and come and sign it. So your website, can you just reel it off for me between your coughs?
Your website, my website?
Yeah.
littlekiwisnatureplay.com.
There it is. So it's at the top of the screen. You guys can see it. What I'll do is I'll comment below, or I'll put in the description for this. I will make sure I'll put the link in. And also, I guess I'm going to do a little shout out for you on Facebook too, because obviously people like your page on Facebook and maybe stay connected with what you're up to. Wait a minute. On your website, there was something about an event or a conference. What's this?
Yeah, I run a conference for nature educators in New Zealand. So that's happening in March next year. I haven't updated the picture.
Okay, there we go. We need some updated. That's cool.
Sorry, it's going to be live on Saturday. Actually, I'm releasing the registrations on Saturday, so it's going to be on Friday, the 15th of March. And last year it was the first year that I ran it, and we had a sellout of 100 people turned up. And I just get in a mix of different, really interesting speakers and run some workshops. Yeah, so it's just awesome.
That is awesome. I think that's really cool. I think starting like with the educators, getting them inspired, motivated, so they can see the potential, that is going to trickle down to the kids. Obviously, us as parents, there's probably, what are like 2 things that we can do, to help obviously get our kids. I think for at least my generation, getting the kids off the iPad, basically. They are addicted. I'd love to hear your thoughts on, and you guys know my background, right? Go-to girl, social media, networking. I used to teach people how to use social media. I always talk about how it's a blessing and a curse, that's for sure. I feel very worried actually about people in general, not just kids, but also particularly teens, like youth at this age. And I'm concerned about what I call comparinitis, where they scroll through the Instagram feed and they judge their own lives and they can see, they judge with lack. They think, oh, this person's going to Fiji, I'm not going to Fiji, or this person has these gorgeous, meals out all the time at restaurants. And I then start judging their lives. And I think parents do it too, like husbands, dads, everyone does it. subconsciously. And not only that, but the scientific effect on our eyes and our brain. I would love your thoughts on that whole, like, how do we get them off the screen? And is it really important to get them off the screen?
Yeah, it really is important to get them off the screen. I think, there is a balance. I'm not someone who says no screen time. I think we need to have a balance because it is in our lives, as you say. But what we need to just think about is when our children are really young and their brains are developing, the impact that is having on their brains. So there's a guy in America, Nicholas Cardaris, and he has been, he's been researching addiction. So, drug addiction and screen addiction. And, he's been comparing what's happening in the brain when there's an addiction, like for cocaine, for example, and screens. And actually, prefrontal cortex, which is kind of the executive functioning of our brain, part where a lot of our thinking, shrinks for a cocaine addict, and it also shrinks for a screen addict. The thing is with cocaine, it's not often in our young children. The screens, that's happening while their brains are developing, screen addiction. And that's a real concern, but I don't think we know enough yet. Gosh, this is terrible cough today.
That's right. Do you have any easy air? Put that in your hand, breathe it in. Peppermint, eucalyptus.
1 second.
Okay, so I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. What are your thoughts on this? I know me as a busy mom, like my youngest particularly, he's 7.5, he definitely spends too much time on the iPad. I'll definitely take some accountability for that. Whereas my older girl, she's 11, she really doesn't spend that much time, compared to him. And that's the thing. I don't know if you guys find it different with your different children of their different ages. I have a friend recently who noticed some behavioral stuff and learning situation with her child. She's totally gone 180. He used to have the iPad at the dinner table, no joke, in the car, no joke, right? At bedtime at 9 o'clock, like all that. And she's completely, she's totally just nuts. She's cut it out completely. Whereas you're saying, I definitely am saying to myself, trim it back, Nat. Like, it's time for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's hard as parents, to monitor it as well, especially if they're taking things into their rooms. But screen time has replaced time outside. So there's lots of other implications, not just that they're zoned out in the screen. Their physical development, and also their social and emotional development. If you're on a screen, you're not interacting with people the same way as you are outdoors. And so that's what's been replaced at outdoor time. We're actually losing a whole generation of children to these screens. It's actually really scary, pretty scary.
It is really scary. Hey, well, if you guys want to comment with any thoughts on this, or if you want to make a commitment as a parent or an early education teacher, comment below. We're happy to inspire you, hold you accountable. I'm going to comment below when I post this. And I'm really going to make an effort, or I'm really going to help my boys and obviously myself, for myself to get outside more. I don't really do a lot of outdoorsy stuff. It's easy to use excuses like, oh, my kids are really young. Well, now they're older. We can actually go tramping if we wanted to. I have had a series of back injuries, easy to use as an excuse, but really, I can actually ride. I can still ride a bike. I can still jog if I want to. So I feel like getting my kids outside, especially Jonah, you guys know my boy that has alopecia, when we do make the effort, even to go as a family for a bike ride in the local Waiatarua Reserve and the dog runs around, he loves it. And it's not just the outdoors, and clambering on trees that have fallen down, all that stuff. He loves the fact that we're together as a family. Because otherwise, I don't know what you guys find, but when baby number 2 came around, it was all about tagging. Okay, well, you take the kids here, and then I'll have time out, and then, logisticizing and tagging. So when we actually make an effort to do something together as a family, he thrives on that. And I watch this space. I feel like if I cut down on screen time, get him outdoors more, get myself outdoors more, that trickle down on terms of my busyness, our marriage, his energy, we'll just see what happens in terms of health.
Well, like nature, there's so many mental health benefits as well, like emotional regulation, the social interactions. It's amazing. The Mental Health Foundation website of New Zealand has some amazing research. If people like the research kind of stuff, there's some great stuff there.
Thank you. Well, you're like a fountain of knowledge. I'd love to know, Celia, what is your vision? If you had a magic wand or whatever, what would New Zealand, or maybe globally, what would it look like for kids in terms of nature play? What would be the new normal?
I think schools really need to get on board. So we need to have schools that are prioritising outdoor time more. So not just play-based education in the classroom, it needs to be outdoors. That's my vision, and I think every school should be doing that in New Zealand. Overseas in Denmark, they have some of the shortest hours of school time. They also have some of the most, the highest amount of outdoor time in their schooling as well. So, and they're also the happiest, healthiest children in the world. So we should definitely be doing that.
Modeling that. Exactly. Yeah. Two other things I wanted to ask you about. Enviro schools. So my kids go to Meadowbank. They've got, it's an Enviro school.
Yeah.
Is that like a step? I know it's different, but is that like a step in the right direction? But it's
absolutely. I'd say it's along the same lines. It's engaging with the environment, connecting to it. Which often, if children are connecting with nature, the environment in their early years, they're more likely to be ones who are looking after it when they're older. So it's really important to establish those strong connections, or the kaitiakitanga, the guardianship of the land in the early years is very vital.
And it's interesting because then kids they'll educate their parents on things that the parents seem to have moved away from, forgotten. My other really big concern, of course, is youth. And I know there's shocking statistics about kids on depression, antidepressants, and ADHD medicine, and medicines and stuff. It's just shocking, the stats, right? So do you feel like this whole nature play thing, it's not just for little kids, it's also we need to get some of our teens outside? I mean, I've said for a long time, and I'm going to make a commitment to do it this year, is to sponsor a teen, to go to Outward Bound, where I used to work, where they go for 3 weeks and they're outside. And I remember, we used to get them to hand in their cell phones. I'm sure they probably still do that these days, and get outside, get on the water, rock climbing, kayaking, sailing, personal development through the outdoors. I want to put my money where my mouth is and sponsor a youth that I think New Zealand would be a better place if every youth was able to go to Outward Bound or do something similar. What are your thoughts on youth and nature play?
Absolutely. I think it doesn't even stop at youth. I think it goes the whole way across. Nature is the best medicine because it changes the way our brain works when we head outdoors. So I don't think it stops at youth. We need to be focusing on it the whole way through school, so that then they do have the tools or the knowledge that nature is a really great, it just really supports our mental health and our physical health. And then they have those tools and the ability to use that when they become adults. So I think schools, we need to be changing a bit about the way they think. We're seeing a lot of this mindfulness practice coming into primary schools, and I think that needs to be coming into secondary schools as well. I think that's really supportive of the whole concept. I'm very much nature play, but there are lots of other things that come into it. Mindfulness is fantastic.
Yeah, totally. I love seeing that. All right. I love that. Final words. Nature is medicine. So true. Thank you so much, Celia. That's awesome. You guys, I'm going to put the links in here so you can find them. Sign the petition, and just don't just sign it. Please also share it on social media. We're going to use the digital, stuff to help spread the message. And then once you've done that, promise me you're going to go outside and spend some time in nature.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Nat. See you.
See you guys.